Hello there guys, and welcome to Onefootball Live. We're really glad to have you with us here on the live show, and I can promise you, you've made the right choice to check in with us here. We've got loads of stuff coming up for you tonight. We have got, let's see, Man City, Spurs, Germany versus England, all the big international chat, and of course, the man that you just can't keep out of the football headlines, Neymar. I'm Ollie Moody, and with me to discuss all of that stuff and a whole lot more is Matt Froelich. Matt, welcome to the show.
Good evening, thanks. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm not overly excited about a weekend of international football.
What? But, no, come on.
But the playoffs just give it that little bit of edge. So yeah,
sure,
not
right?
Too bad.
I mean, I think the playoffs are about as good as international football gets outside of a big international tournament.
Yeah,
you know, because there's something really riding on it. There's something for a team.
I mean,
to
for
really
the home
for,
nations as well. I'm kind of a little bit biased towards them.
Mm-hmm. So we have already got a few of you writing in saying hello. I can see Pirate Pokemon Go saying I'm a Huddersfield fan. Good for you, mate. They're having a pretty good first season in the Premier League, right? So far. We've got who else is on here? Ed Boom 442 Oons saying hi. I like Man U. We always get a few Man U fans on here. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of opinions from you tonight. A lot of the teams we're mentioning do have a Manchester United link. Guys, do write in with your comments on everything that we're talking about tonight. We want to hear your opinion as well. Matt and me will obviously be giving you all of our nonsense on top of that too. Let's take a closer look at what's coming up tonight, shall we? So firstly, we're going to talk a lot about Manchester City. We're going to ask the question, is this peak Pep that we're seeing right now? And is this City side poised to become the biggest or the best team that we've ever seen, perhaps in the Premier League or perhaps even around Europe? We're also going to go to rockstar wingbacks. Matt here is going to give us a masterclass on the development of wingbacks in the modern game and why they're so important, why they've become the big part of the team. Spurs, they have pulled a few players out of international duty for England in the match against Germany. We're going to ask, are they real injuries or are they just faking it ahead of the North London derby? We've also got, of course, a load of other big internationals. We're going to talk about Italy, Spain, Belgium and Brazil as well. So lots of big teams in there for us to discuss. But we're going to start with the man who has, it's fair to say, dominated the headlines of football, Matt, over the last few months, since the summer really. Neymar. It's only been, I think it's 5 months since he joined, or even 4 months perhaps, since he joined PSG. Already, we're talking about him being unhappy and wanting to leave. The latest rumours coming out of France are saying that Neymar is kind of bored with playing football in France already. He thinks it's not competitive enough. And Papa Neymar, who we see right there, is already making inroads into a possible transfer to Real Madrid. What do you think? I mean, the only thing I can really say with Neymar is, seriously? Already? How can he be pulling this kind of stuff after just a few months? Tell me.
I think, first of all, I think it's a shame that we're not talking about the football when it comes to Neymar. I mean, I think he's been involved, I think, in 20 goals already. 11 goals and 9 assists for PSG. And it almost brings the case, why? Why kick up such a fuss? Why move there in the first place? I mean, it's not something easily undone. We're not talking about, you know what, give them back the money. No.
Yeah.
Is it going to be more this time?
That's the
Are they
big
going to
question,
say we
isn't
want it back plus some?
If Neymar wants to leave PSG already, how much is any club going to have to pay for him? It was, 222 million euros to get him to PSG in the first place. And already after, what did you say, it was 12 games he's played for PSG?
Yeah.
He's bored. I mean, come on. Like, how quickly is he going to get bored at the next club he goes to? I mean, you have to ask here, like, you look at all the chaos that Neymar has caused for Barcelona and PSG just since the summer. I mean, we had, all the talk about him leaving Barcelona in the first place, all the faff around him paying his own transfer clause. Yeah. We had him then getting to PSG, bad-mouthing the Barcelona board and the way things are run there. We've had him forcing or ordering kind of PSG to sign Dani Alves, some of his mates, for him to play with at PSG. We've had him fighting over a penalty with Cavani. We've had him allegedly telling PSG to get rid of Cavani. And now
he's just kicking up a fuss.
Now he's saying he's bored.
I mean, look, he was back in Barcelona the other day, apparently surprised his old teammates at the training ground. He's been caught saying, "Would you take me back?" in a sort of smug way, to kind of test the water, if you will. But he really sort of, I don't know what it is. I'm not sure whether he's gone and realised, you know what, this isn't as great as I thought. I mean, he left under the sort of saying that he wanted to win the Ballon d'Or. He effectively wanted to step out of Messi's shadow, and really prove himself on the world stage and be the best player, right? So he kicks up a fuss and takes penalties over Cavani. He really sort of makes his mark, and I think he's realised after a while, I'm playing every few weeks in the Champions League because no other games in the rest of that time really matter. I mean, I'm not going to insult the French league, but I mean, it's kind of obvious that it's not the competitive.
He surely had to realise, right, going from Spain, where you've got a few really big teams, you've got Barca, you've got Real, you've got Atleti, you've got a generally pretty strong league, probably the strongest league in the world, generally speaking. Going to the French league, where you've got, and going to a team specifically that's got more money than the rest of the league combined. Surely he should have realised this is not going to be as competitive. I'm not going to be as highly challenged as I was in Spain. You can't kick up a fuss a few months later, I think. And for me, his dad it seems to be, again, playing a big part of this. Allegedly, his dad sort of making back channels with Real Madrid to try and get him there already. I don't want his dad affecting his son's career? Yeah,
that's the thing. You don't want his dad to ruin his career. And you don't want... I mean, there was a lot of talk about the money that he's still legally owed by Barcelona, so I can't even see him moving back there. I mean, there's been talk that Sergio Ramos has publicly stated how amazing a player Neymar is. I don't think he'll be the first player to do that. But saying Real Madrid want the best, and he's welcome with open arms. And there was also a sort of a cheeky dig saying he didn't think that Neymar could go directly from Barcelona to Real Madrid, sort of, a la Figo. So he's kind of used PSG as a bit of a diversion for a few months.
That is
then
a question.
He'll appear with the Galacticos.
Well, we've got a comment here from Carson Bartholo, I hope I've pronounced that right, saying even Real would be hard pressed to spend enough money or have enough money for Neymar, which is insane. It is insane, isn't it? I mean, what would the transfer sum be? 222 million to PSG. What would it be now?
Yeah, well, it's that and then some, at least 250 million. I mean, look, Real Madrid, backed by whoever they're backed by and all the royalty. I mean, it seems like a never-ending pot of money. But they just...
Neymar might put that into doubt.
It might be the brand that brings all the money with him. They might have to get rid of Bale first and raise some funds. I mean, it's not like he's walking into a team where he's going to be number one. He's forgetting there's an all-right player in Ronaldo there.
Mr. Cristiano Ronaldo, exactly. Absolutely. Because don't forget, one of the reasons that Neymar gave for leaving Barcelona was he said he wanted to step out of Messi's shadow a bit. He wanted to make himself the main man so that he had a chance of winning the Ballon d'Or, of winning, World Player of the Year, that kind of a thing. If he goes to Real, where Ronaldo's just been named the best player in the world by FIFA,
there you go.
And he seems to have a few years left in the tank, Ronaldo, as well. His form's not great at the moment, but you'd think that's temporary. Is he not just getting himself back into the same situation, at least for a couple of years?
I feel like he is, but he must have realised again that the standard of the French league, I mean, put it this way, the Ballon d'Or's been going since 1956. In that time, we've had one player win the trophy whilst playing in the French league, and that was I think Jean-Pierre Papin for Marseille in 1991.
Knowledge. So, yeah, exactly. Stop showing off here, right?
Yeah, no, but you know what I mean. That it's obvious that the teams, regardless of whether you say that La Liga is a 2 or 3 horse race, playing for these clubs and winning the big trophies obviously has such an appeal. Whereas playing in the French league, we're outside of Monaco, PSG, Marseille, and Lyon.
No, that's exactly it, right?
It's not.
We've got another comment here from Aishkanta Mahanti, who says Neymar doesn't deserve Real Madrid. So my question to you now, Matt. If not Real Madrid,
right?
Where? Guys, tell us. What do you think, Matt?
I mean, I think he's out of options.
That's it. He's burned his bridges in Barcelona, right? So he can't go back there.
He's burned them. He stays at PSG, or he does the unthinkable of going to Real Madrid. I mean, the money and everything would just be so ridiculous.
Is there anywhere else? Is there any other club that could afford him, that would take him on with all the baggage that's going along with him at the moment?
I mean,
he's unbelievably
you take him,
but is it worth it?
Man United would probably take him, but I just can't see that kind of money.
Is there even?
I mean, they're being told United they've got to sell before signing Griezmann next summer. So I don't know. I just can't see that kind of money being spent, especially the way that they've gone about saying the financial fair play was all in order.
All right, yeah, exactly. So, then we got that whole issue, haven't we? Well, you know what? One team who it's very rare that you say they don't have enough money to sign someone is Manchester City, and we want to talk a lot about them tonight because they are absolutely on fire.
They are,
so far this season. How impressed are you by Pep right now?
I'm very impressed considering his first season wasn't the greatest. If you look at Barcelona and then into Munich, I mean, towards the end of Munich, maybe not so great, but he really sort of, instead of just caving in after one year at City, identified the weaknesses, brought in the players he needed to bring in, and now you can see they're really buying into his style. Because it's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing for a manager to come in and say, right, this is the way we play now, deal with it. He's got to win a lot of people around, and you're seeing the benefits of the season, and my God, it's just...
Absolutely.
It's frightening to watch.
Absolutely. Guys, I want to know what you think about Pep and Man City, whether this is peak Pep. But right now, I'm going to tell you what I think. So here it is, peak Pep and Man City to break the goal-scoring record in English football. Let's take a look.
He's done it in Spain, he's done it in Germany, and now he's doing it in England. Pep Guardiola is going to win his first Premier League title this season, and even though as an Arsenal fan it pains me to say it, he's going to do it with the greatest entertainers the league has ever seen. Our case that he can do it is built on 3 key pillars. Number 1, the evidence so far. Number 2, the competition for this historic title. And number 3, the bloody outrageous players at his disposal. It's fair to say Man City have started the season rather well. They've won 10 of their opening 11 league games, including victories over Liverpool, Chelsea and Arsenal. And that stunning form has put them 8 points clear at the top of the table. Not bad, huh? But it's not just the points total, it's the goals. City scored 38 times in their first 11 games this season. For those of you who don't have a calculator, if they keep that rate up, they'll have 131 by the end of the season. That would smash Chelsea's Premier League record and even beat the best top-flight total set by Aston Villa way back in the 1930s. We shouldn't be surprised by this, of course. Guardiola's teams have always been rampant in attack. During his Barca reign, the team passed the 100-goal mark twice in 4 seasons, and Bayern were the Bundesliga's top scorers in 2 of his 3 seasons in Germany. And now we may be approaching peak Pep. 31 points and plus 31 goal difference is a record start for a Guardiola side. So Bayern and Barca fans, if you thought he was good back then, get a load of him now. So the evidence so far suggests Guardiola is exactly the right man to construct a modern-day goal machine. But to claim the title of the greatest ever attacking force in English football, the stubbly Spaniard must guide his side past marks set by some truly great teams. Think about Arsenal's Invincibles team, the magnificence of Thierry Henry and genius of Dennis Bergkamp, supplied by the elegance of Robert Pires and pace of Freddie Ljungberg. And how about that incredible Manchester United attack from a few years later? Wayne Rooney, Carlos Tevez and some chap by the name of Cristiano Ronaldo, 3 of the best, most effective forwards to grace the Premier League, all playing at the top of their game. And then there's the current record holders themselves, Carlo Ancelotti's Chelsea side from the 09-10 season, the ultimate all-round striker Didier Drogba, the all-time great midfield goalscorer Frank Lampard, and a supporting cast of Florent Malouda and Nicolas Anelka. Those teams definitely qualify as tough competition, as Pep's new side strives to break the record. But we know from recent evidence from his time at Bayern and Barca and what we've seen already this season that they have a real chance of making history. So now to the final ingredients in this City souffle. The elite players at his fingertips and a City management group letting him do his thing, something that wasn't always the case at Bayern Munich. So, the players. Where do I begin? Let's start at the front, shall we? Sergio Aguero recently became City's all-time top scorer with 179 goals. And at 29 there could be plenty more to come. With his movement and technical ability, Aguero has been a top-notch Premier League striker for the last 6 seasons. And with 8 goals in 8 games in this campaign, he's still doing the business for the City fans. Then there's his deputy. Gabriel Jesus is one of the hottest young strikers in the world right now. At just 20 years old, he's already a regular for Brazil, with great dribbling, creativity and finishing all packaged up to make a lethal striker. If those two aren't dangerous enough, the wingers are ready to cut any team to ribbons. In the past, Leroy Sané and Raheem Sterling have both been called speed merchants with nothing else to their games. But this season, they're proving just how wrong their critics are. With Guardiola's help, Sané has added smart movement to his game, and he's become ruthless in front of goal too. Sterling, meanwhile, has found his way again after struggling for a couple of years. He's not only rediscovered the form he showed back in his breakthrough season at Liverpool, he's improved on it. The direct threat the pair poses with their lightning pace, aided by the positional awareness they're learning at Guardiola University, makes them an utter nightmare for Premier League defences. But I've saved the best for last. 2 midfielders who are quite simply a joy to watch. David Silva isn't so much a football player as an artist. He's delivered some absolutely gorgeous assists during his time at the Etihad, and his link-up play lays the groundwork for much of what the other players I've mentioned do in the penalty box. And he's got a player alongside him who's just as good. Kevin De Bruyne has been a very good player for a few years, but now he looks ready to take the next step and become the best in the league. He was already the best provider in England last season with 18 assists. 6 already this time out means he's on course to beat that number. But more importantly, he's one of those players with the vision to pick out passes that no one else thought possible, and the talent to pull them off. My money's on him to win Player of the Year. So Guardiola has a first-rate squad at his disposal, but his real genius is to get them all working together. Much like at Barcelona, he's managed to take a group of uber talents and make them play as a unit, rather than as individuals. With a phenomenal start to the season and an all-star cast directed by the attacking football overlord Guardiola, this team has everything in place to break every Premier League record in the book and assume the mantle as the Premier League's greatest ever entertainers. Tell us if you think this really could be the season when man, club, cash and players all came together to achieve peak Pep.
So those are my nonsensical ramblings, but you guys have been telling us what you think about this too. We've got a few questions from you. Matthew Burns saying, do you guys buy into the Pep hype? Quality manager or manages quality sides? Not hard to win games with players like KDB, Sané and Aguero. Matt, what do you think?
I think it's a great question from Matt. I think in some ways that makes it even more difficult. You know, the expectation level is, and I've said this throughout his career at Barcelona and Munich as well, it's taking these guys who are expected to finish top and making them even better and getting them to play in a different way. That's what makes this all so difficult. And if you've got low expectations and you perform poorly, no loss. If you perform well, there's a little bit gained. But, you know, the pressure on them, you know, to keep learning, especially when the guys like Aguero have done a lot in their career. No, I think he's up there with the managers.
Yeah, I think he's pushed a lot of players on in their performances as well. When you look at how good someone like De Bruyne has been, you know, under Pep, he really seems to have pushed on another step.
He made something of Sterling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before this season,
Sterling really kind of went into the wilderness a little bit, didn't he? He just didn't look quite the same player as he was in that real breakthrough season at Liverpool. And now he's got it back. Sané as well, you know, when he left Schalke, you had a lot of people in the Bundesliga saying, well, you know, he's got speed, but has he got a whole lot else?
Can he finish?
You know, now, I mean, Jesus, he's scoring goals left, right and centre. As is Gabriel Jesus, of course, who's come in, you know, from Brazil and has just been firing from day one, basically, at City.
I mean, to take a kid from Brazil, you know, and sort of prep him and get him playing enough to challenge Aguero for a starting spot up front, is definitely something that I'm not taking away anything from his talent, but only learning from him. And I think it attracts players as well, guys that go to learn more regardless of the stage in their career. He's just such a fantastic manager. I really, really am on board.
Well, Ashkanta Mahanti's commented again, saying Pep is great, but City will not continue scoring at this rate post-December. I don't know. I think there may be a slight drop off. I mean, look, a lot of teams have a bit of a rough patch around the Christmas period because in England they just play so many games around that time of year, But I think once they get through that sort of difficult winter stage, they'll pick it up again. I think they'll keep going. Maybe not quite at this rate, but I do think they're gonna break the record.
I mean, there's no reason why not.
Right. Exactly. There you go. That's that.
To put it simply, I mean, he's even put a time frame on it. He's even put after Christmas.
Yeah. All right, but we've got another question here. That's it's a really good one from Carson Bartholo. Pete Pep, no way. Barcelona treble team was obviously better. I know what you mean. That Barcelona team was insane. And obviously, Man City have got to do a lot to prove that they're on that level. You can't really just say, well, they've won a few games at the start of the season. This is the best. They're already better than that Barcelona team that won, what was it, a couple of Champions Leagues and a few league titles and scored 114 goals was their record under Pep in La Liga or something like that. But what do you think? Does this City team have the potential to be that good?
No disrespect to the Spanish league, but I think Man City have a lot more to deal with. Rather than just dealing with Real Madrid and maybe Atletico now and then. But again, if we go back to the previous point and say Pep has it so easy, then Barcelona wasn't peak Pep. He just stood on the sideline and let Messi and co do their thing. So maybe he wasn't
is that
doing
easy?
So much
As long as you got Messi in the side.
Maybe this is the peak Pep because he's turned a team who weren't outright champions like Barca or Bayern, and he's really had to turn them around. And so, again, everything points to the fact he's doing such a fantastic job.
All right, but he's got to, as we say, he's got to actually follow through on that and prove that this is such a great team. New Tube Footy Vids asking, can Man City win the Champions League?
Well, I mean, there again, you're going to talk about the congestion of fixtures. You make it further in the League Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League, and you come around March, April time, and you're looking at a heavy schedule again. With this kind of football, why not? Again, it comes down to the point where they're taking apart teams like I've never seen. Like fantastic football, and it's not just, as you mentioned in that video, it's not just completely the attacking guys. It's sometimes the defensive unit as well, and the way they move forward from the back. It's a complete collective. You can rave about the assists from De Bruyne and the speeding goals from Sané, Sterling, Aguero, but I think all over the park, they're fantastic.
This is an interesting point that you raised, Matt, and it leads us on to what we want to talk about next. Because if you look at the players that Guardiola signed in the summer, I mean, obviously Bernardo Silva was in there, an attacking player, but a lot of the signings were actually at the other end of the pitch. You've got Ederson in goal. Yeah. You've got three fullback / wing backs in was it Mondi, who's unfortunately injured now, Kyle Walker and Danilo. Yeah. And obviously a lot of the problems that City had last season were in defence. John Stones looks a lot more solid. Yeah. But I want to focus on those wing backs and those, or attacking fullbacks as you might call them, because this is something that is a big thing for you, right? You're a big fan of the wing backs.
As Guardiola has put it in many of his tactical kind of explanations and interviews, they're not just defenders. The way they move forward, if you look at any sort of Man City attack, they'll be right up there pushing the wings. They have a defensive midfielder, usually in Fernandinho or Toure, can drop back and cover. Stones is a better player after a season, much like Guardiola is doing better after a season. He brought in Bravo because playing out from the back is part of his tactic. That didn't work after a season.
That was, Jesus
But if he's the kind of guy who says, you know what, I messed up after a year, bring in someone else, bring in Ederson.
Absolutely, ruthless.
That's it. Last season he's got rid of the full-backs. He's really identified, and you can see it paying off. And that's where, it's not just, I'll put the best players out there and let them do it. The same at Barcelona with Dani Alves and everything, Busquets. Everyone had a role. You can't just pick all your best forwards. This isn't FIFA. You don't just put your 90 rated inform cards and expect it to work. It's not.
Okay, you know what?
Something like that.
You've prepared something for us on the subject of wing-backs in modern football, why they are the rock stars of the game right now. So let's take a closer look at that. Matt Froelich, not this idiot for once, telling you why wing-backs are the most important players on the pitch.
If you haven't noticed in the past 12 months, it's not just the strikers, midfielders and central defenders taking all the transfer money and stealing all the headlines. It's the wing-backs that have become the rock stars. Around Europe, the wing-backs like Joshua Kimmich and David Alaba at Bayern Munich and Kyle Walker and Benjamin Mendy at Man City have been the rock stars for their clubs. The wing-backs have come to prominence by pushing forward from a 5-man defence to leave a 3-man defence at the back. The primary functions come in pushing high up the pitch when attacking to allow the more creative players to move infield whilst keeping the team's width. At Bayern Munich it's a similar picture where Joshua Kimmich on the right and David Alaba on the left keep the width in the team to allow the likes of Ribery, Robben and James Rodriguez to create more havoc in the centre. Take Bayern Munich's second goal against Dortmund from the weekend. An attacking Robben cut inside on his left foot, leaving space down the right for Joshua Kimmich to bomb forward. His cross was met from Robert Lewandowski and Bayern were 2-0 to the good. This is where you can see their tactical value in a game because of their attacking threat. And it's also where you can find the answer to the summer's biggest question: when was Kyle Walker worth £50 million? And with the fitness levels of the likes of Kyle Walker, it's easy to see why he can be entrusted to take on the whole right side of the pitch. In years gone by, players like Gary Neville would have very rarely overlapped Beckham because he wouldn't have been cutting into his weaker foot, but rather hugging the touchline for his strong, favoured right foot. With Kyle Walker pushing forward, he also forces the likes of David Silva to move inside onto that killer left foot of his. It's not something we haven't seen before with a Pep Guardiola team. Just look at Barcelona, where the forward-thinking Dani Alves was a key part of his tactical system. The wing-back really is the rock star these days. Maybe not always the lead singer or the lead guitarist, but boy, can a top-quality wing-back mean that others can have more space on this stage to play the hits. With that in mind, let's look at Antonio Conte's system at Chelsea. With Marcos Alonso and Victor Moses on either wing, the likes of Hazard, Willian and Pedro can move in field, much like Robben and Ribery do, to cause all sorts of manic for the defences. The wing-back position is more relevant, important and valuable than ever before. In every league, in every title race, in every game, on the road to Russia next year, they'll help decide the location of some of the most important silverware on the planet.
Great stuff there, Matt, and I don't want to disagree with you, but I have to say, I still just tense up every time I hear the words Kyle Walker and 50 million next to each other.
Yeah.
Is he really worth that much? Do you really think that Kyle Walker is worth 50 million?
I mean, as a bitter Spurs fan, I'm going to say, give me the money, because he can't cross the ball. However, I've been proven wrong by some good attacking play. I'm just quoting a Gary Lineker tweet there. But I think if you look at his overall value to the team, it's not so much what he does, as I've said there, the great attacking play and offering the option and get back to defend, but it's what he allows the rest of the team to do. It's the fact that he then draws attention to himself and allows the likes of De Bruyne and Silva and stuff to really pick up the ball and really kind of, do their business as well. It's not just focused individual 50 million's worth.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I want to know who you guys think is the best wing-back in the world right now. Matt obviously mentioned a few of the best just then, but who you think is the absolute best right now? Already we've got a comment from Carson Bartholo saying, I love offensive wing-backs. Well, you and Matt will get on well then. Marcelo and Carvajal at Madrid are amazing. They certainly are. You can't argue with that when you look at the results from the last couple of years. And again, that fits into what you were saying. The runs that they make allow not only players like Ronaldo, not only attacking players, but it creates space and it creates options for players like Modric and Kroos to actually sort of, move into and to play passes into, right? Yeah,
absolutely. And it's interesting you look at Real Madrid, that the way that their fullbacks move forward, they don't necessarily move forward to the state that Casemiro drops in and they become a 3 again. The advantage of them moving forward is the pockets of space. If you imagine Ramos and Varane, and you imagine Carvajal and Marcelo slightly further forward, and a line drawn towards them, it's the pockets that Kroos and Modric pick up. And they're not necessarily thinking so much about the defensive side, but these guys have much more room on the ball. And what's more is they play the game in front of them. When they pick up the ball, they turn and they've got the options in front of them. I mean, answering a question of the best fullback in the world, I think it's Marcelo.
Marcelo? I mean, you're going with Marcelo?
It's the consistency for me over, 12 years at Real Madrid now?
He has been brilliant, it's got to be said. I think he was a little underrated when he first got to Real.
It was
those first couple of years, you know, exactly. He was very young, but he's proved over many, many years now that he is actually a top player. I mean, he's almost, I would say, on the level of Dani Alves on the right, you know. The sort of, you know, left-sided version of him. And Carson Bartholomew also says Marcelo. We've got Lennox Williams saying Kolasinac is the best wing back for sure. As an Arsenal fan, I'm with you, my friend.
Wow.
We've got Ryan O'Meara saying Marcelo. Lots of shouts for Marcelo here, and Florenzi.
Not bad. Not bad.
So I mean, there's a lot of choice out there, isn't there? Let's be honest. And it's interesting because, you know, when I was a kid, fullback was about the least sexy position possible. When I was growing up, fullback was where you put the kids who couldn't really play
the worst player.
I often ended up at fullback, for example. You know, it was like, all right, he doesn't got any kind of defensive nous, he can't hold a line. You know, he's not good enough on the ball to play in midfield. We'll just stick him at fullback.
Don't do this to yourself,
you know?
man. Don't do this
it's all right. I'm just getting a bit of PTSD here, just sort of reliving some old conversations with the coach. But no, I mean, it's incredible how the sort of status of a fullback has changed. I actually think that your team, Tottenham, has played a big role in that. Mauricio Pochettino, the way he used the likes of Walker, Danny Rose. I mean, I thought Danny Rose was average, shall we say, at best, before Pochettino turned him into this beast of a fullback or wingback. And another one that you might look at over at Chelsea. Chelsea's another team that's really used wingbacks well over the last couple of years. Is Victor Moses? You mentioned him in your video just there. I'm amazed at how Victor Moses kind of bounced around a few teams, even played at Chelsea for a while in another position without ever really, except maybe at Palace, without really sort of impressing. But now has become one of the best, most important fullbacks in the league.
This brings into focus the point that sometimes it's not necessarily the player who's having a bad run of form or playing badly. You know, because you can ask the question, how can Moses be sent out on loan? I think it was Stoke, Liverpool, West Ham, I think in 3 seasons or something like that, and then suddenly become an important wing back.
It doesn't seem to make sense, does it? Yeah,
it's because his style of play fitted into the system well now. You know, the crucial thing. And not so much anywhere else on the pitch. Maybe centre back, you know, you've got to be tall and big, and the goalkeeper, obviously, the height's an issue. But more and more so, the fullback, take the, you know, I'm not going all out insulting him, but take the athleticism of, say, Gary Neville, you know, a 5'7" sort of skinny lad, and take beasts now like Rose, Walker, Victor Moses.
It's a different game, isn't it?
Completely different.
Even in 10 years or whatever, it's just changed completely.
In a short span of time, these guys, I mean, Danny Rose and Victor Moses are really good examples of guys who started off their career actually further forward. And have come back, not lost the attacking now, so now it's come to serve them.
And actually, they're better placed there. We could talk about wing-backs all night, but we've got a lot of other stuff that we need to get to first, because it is, as we said earlier, International Week. We've got a few really big friendly games, which is perhaps a bit of a, I don't know, oxymoron there, but some certainly like kind of the Klassiker, they call it here, with England versus Germany, you know. However, we need a bit of help to get really into the England-Germany conversation. There's a lot of different things we need to unpack there. So we're just going to grab a mate of ours out of the newsroom quickly, and we'll join you again in just a moment. Now, as you can see, the sofa here has got a little bit more crowded, and that's because Lewis Ambrose from the Onefootball newsroom has joined us to chat all things England versus Germany. Welcome, Lewis.
Thanks for having me, Ollie.
Our pleasure. Now, we're going to come to you first because I want to talk about the England squad and all these withdrawals, because I've just looked at this squad here, and I've got to be honest, I'm worried. It does not look good, does it?
No. Gareth Southgate seems to have plucked his favourites from his old under-21 days to fill in the gaps after so many England players have pulled out the squad, and yeah, you don't really want to be facing Germany and then Brazil with a threadbare squad like this.
This is absolutely true. You mentioned the withdrawals there. There have been a lot of high-profile withdrawals. Harry Kane, Dele Alli among them. Is there perhaps something a bit more to this? Could this possibly be that the likes of Harry Kane and the likes of Dele Alli, who are so important to Tottenham, that they're maybe being tactically withdrawn by Mauricio Pochettino there, especially with the North London derby coming up next weekend?
Yeah, I think we'd have to say that's probably the case. Harry Winks as well just looked so crucial for Spurs the last few weeks. He was brilliant in both the games. I'm sure you agree, Matt.
Yeah,
against Real Madrid.
Absolutely.
So suddenly to not have any of those players available is horrible news for England, but for Spurs, I don't think Mauricio Pochettino will be too worried. He's already said that Harry Kane will be available for the North London derby.
Sure, and that's already a little bit suspicious, isn't it? That he's already saying like a week and a half ahead of that game, he's definitely going to be ready. I mean, you wonder, could Kane maybe have travelled? Could he have played against Brazil, say, in the second friendly?
Yeah, we can't say, but we'd have to assume that it's not too serious, whatever's wrong with him, and he'll be firing.
He missed the game at Old Trafford. He missed the Man United game because there was a game a few days later. So it's risk and reward.
He's played since then, though. He played 90 minutes, I think.
Yeah, he came off injured against Palace as well.
And yeah, he played most of the game against Palace until Tottenham decided they better make it look like he's not quite right.
He did. Well, I think that's the way the international friendlies have gone recently. That no one really cares.
All right, so you're saying it's okay for clubs to withdraw players, even if they're not necessarily injured, as long as it's just a friendly. Do you think that's all right?
I don't think that's all right, but I think if there's an injury and the guys that they work in, day out, and the medical team at Tottenham say, look, he's injured, it's best not to risk him, I think Pochettino has to have a say in it.
I think that we have an issue where Tottenham and England have different priorities.
Yeah, exactly.
And then there's no way to really police making sure players are actually okay and they're going to make the squad. And it's not just Tottenham. It's Man City as well. Pulled out Raheem Sterling and Fabian Delph.
Yes, absolutely right. And that is making this England squad, as I said, look very threadbare at the moment. We had Jack Cork, not a bad player by any standard, but Jack Cork being called up for his for the first time to the England squad. And you look at the rest of that midfield. I mean, Dyer is a regular, but Lingard, Livermore, Loftus-Cheek, these are not names that fill you with confidence necessarily for top-level international football. Ashley Young in there listed as a midfielder in the list I'm looking at the moment. He's been playing wing-back a lot of the time for Manchester United recently. I mean, do you see the makings of a good midfield anywhere in that? Do you think there's any kind of decent England midfield that can be made out of this?
I don't really know, to be honest. I think with Dyer at the base, it looks like a solid midfield defensively. But going forward, I'm interested to see what Southgate makes of it. I mean, it could be, and this is thrown out there, it could be a ploy from Southgate as well. He thinks, if we win these friendlies, the pressure next summer is cranked up. We've beat Germany and Brazil in the space of 4 days, and now people are going to definitely expect us to win the World Cup. So if he thinks we'll lose, he'll let us not lose, draw, not put in a good performance, and the expectations will be, mid-range as mid-range England expectations can be.
Do good results here, do wins in these two games, or even just not losing, even just draws in these two games, rely on England not conceding goals? Because I look at the midfield, I look at the midfield that I just mentioned, and then I see up front, with no Kane there, we've got Vardy, Rashford and Tammy Abraham. Again, either players who perhaps are not top level mostly, or players who are growing. Rashford's still quite young. Abraham as well, very inexperienced even at Premier League level. Are we basically relying on the defence to keep Germany and Brazil out? Yeah,
I don't think we'll argue with that. More or less. Tammy Abraham's done really well, actually. He's got 5 goals, I think, for Swansea this season, and Swansea, a team that barely venture forward. I think we'll see a big future from him for England, but right now he's not going to be a one-man attack. And right now, without Harry Kane, Raheem Sterling, and Dele Alli, England are probably going to need a one-man attack.
I mean, the main issue I think is if everybody was fit, and Southgate had said, "I'm playing the youngsters," so Dyer, Henderson, Ali, Kane are all available, but he still chooses Abraham and Loftus-Cheek and the rest of them over him and Corker, whoever. Then we all accept it. It's the fact that I'm not saying they're not good players, but I don't think they've got there on merit. They've got there on the fact that other players have pulled out, which then draws more attention to the fact that Kane and the likes have pulled out.
Just the timing of these friendlies as well. The FA have planned to play Germany and Brazil because they want to see how far behind England are, or maybe how close England are for next summer's World Cup. And now we're not going to see the England team that will play in next summer's World Cup. It makes the whole exercise a bit pointless.
Yeah, it could actually sort of make England look much further behind than they really are. But that is my next question. Because we've talked about Kane, we've talked about Sterling and Ali and players like that being withdrawn from the squad. But we had those players at the Euros last summer, and we still didn't do very well. I don't know if you guys remember. Rather forget about it, to be honest with you. So, do England actually have a lot of potential to get much better, or is bringing back Kane, bringing back Sterling, bringing back Ali actually not going to give us much more of a chance?
Well, I mean, the obvious point is it's not the same manager, but then again, I'm not sure I trust Southgate as much as I do that anyone's better than Hodgson. But unless you see a direct difference, then no, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think it could get much worse than last summer. You know, as an England fan, that was a real low point. To see us go out to Iceland and to see the team so dysfunctional and the diamond in midfield and Kane taking corners and all sorts. But to see something kind of different and to see that Southgate's making an effort to try and play players differently and see what he could do for next summer, that I don't mind. That I don't mind at all. But I mean, the end of the qualifiers have been pretty abysmal, some of the performances.
The qualifying campaign's weird where you're playing these teams who aren't on the same level as you, and it's, everyone's got 10 men behind the ball, and I'm not sure what England are supposed to do.
This is the thing, that's the whole point, unless you win 5-0.
Yeah, and that's the whole point of these friendlies now, to test where England are against those nations, and they're going to do it, as we said, without any of the players.
It's either that, or it's just another money spinner, and it's another attraction, and there might be 60, 70, 80,000 fans at Wembley to see England-Germany, whereas if England had chosen England, Moldova, no disrespect to them, there'd be, on a cold Friday night, there'd be about 20,000 people there maximum, and kids go free.
I'm sure that Gareth Southgate's pretty frustrated about this, but on the other hand, England might go into next year's World Cup looking really, really poor against the big sides, and maybe England are going to be without 2 or 3 key players, and maybe they're going to have to find a way to get past Spain or France, a nation of this strength, and pack everyone behind the ball. And if you're going to do that, then it doesn't really matter so much who's involved.
Sure, and that is perhaps the most worrying point out of all this. It doesn't take that many injuries or withdrawals for England to suddenly look like a very thin squad. Yeah. But I want to move on because you mentioned, Matt, the possibility of managers doing this even if their players are fit, just to kind of test the squad. That is, of course, what Germany have been doing for most of this year. They did it at the Confederations Cup, where they basically played a B team and won it. They also did it at the Euro under-21s and won it. So is the real problem here for England that they look around, especially they look at their opponents this week, and they say, Jesus Christ, they could put out a C team and be competitive at the World Cup, and we're struggling after just a few injuries.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it shows the difference in both federations, in both football teams, that they can go to, is it the Confederations Cup in the summer?
Yeah.
They can go there and win that with a B team. I mean, it only shows how strong they are. I mean, having said that, the England, underage youth groups have had a pretty good summer.
Under 17 level, you mean?
Yeah, well, the under 17s, the under 20s, or the under 19s won the Euros or lost the final.
The final,
yeah. So, I mean, if you were to put it down on paper, Southgate would be right to give a few of these guys a chance. But as I said, it comes with the fact, as you said, that after 1, 2, 3 dropouts, we suddenly start to look a little bit thin, and we can't put out a B team or a C team or anything like that.
Yeah, which Germany clearly can.
Yeah.
I mean, Joachim Löw said this week, I think, he's got 40 or 41 players sort of shortlisted that he's going to try and pick the squad from.
It's mad, isn't it?
Maybe we can just get a few of them in.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll see 10 players from Germany, 10 players from Spain that would walk into the England team that won't even make it to the World Cup. And that's
mad, isn't it?
That's worrying.
I mean, we saw on the pictures that came up on the screen just a second ago, just some of those Germany players who are such a big threat. The likes of Kroos, the likes of Khedira and Gundogan, even, who his career's been blighted by injuries so far, but he's such a good player when he's fit. And that, especially when I talk about this England midfield being so weak with just a few dropouts, and then you look at Germany and the quality that they are going to come up against on Friday night. There's just a chasm there, isn't there? There's just this vast sort of like gulf in class between what Germany with their A team can put out and what England with a couple of withdrawals can put out.
Yeah, there is. And that's the thing. I don't think we'd say on paper, and England haven't delivered on international level for a very long time, and they haven't even performed well internationally for a really long time. But on paper, I think we'd say the Germany first, second 11 and England 11 doesn't have a huge gap, but it is as soon as Kane and Sterling aren't there, it's scary.
Yeah, you tend to be over-reliant on these guys, and especially, you know, when it comes to tournament football, when you're playing 2 or 3 games a week,
Yeah.
After a long, hard season as well, it can be rather strange. I mean, it speaks volumes about. I'm sure a lot of these German guys who, you know, are in the second 11 or even the first 11 use this as a chance to gain experience, and a chance to get top international games under their belt, whereas we, you know, think we don't need the experience, or we can pull out. And I think that's the difference in the two countries.
But is there a potential for this to maybe become a problem for Germany, that they've now got so many players who feel like they've performed at international level, they've performed for the Germany team, and they feel like actually they've earned their place in the starting lineup, maybe not the first team for the Germany team at the World Cup, but they at least deserve to be in the squad on the plane to Russia. Is there a slight possibility here that they could have too much competition?
Well, I think that would be hard to say.
Is that optimistic?
I don't think Joachim Löw will mind that he has so many good players. He'll have a headache picking the squad. But when it comes down to it, and if he leaves Gundogan at home, if he leaves Khedira or Emre Can and Mario Gomez, I don't think he's going to mind when he considers he's picked up Thomas Müller and Mesut Ozil.
No, but I think but that's it. But that's the difference then. If he goes and, you know, says, I'm going to leave X, Y and Z at home from the first 11, he brings the second 11 in, right, who have played the international games, who have, you know, let's say they win. They say have beaten England, and Germany have got... I think it might be Wales on a Tuesday night, and you know, and they've played in these big games, and they're used to this competition. And what makes it even better is that if the B team of Germany go out and absolutely dominate England, what the A team suddenly thinking of Germany?
So
I better up my game.
So you think it's a good thing?
Yeah,
you agreed.
You've got that.
Okay.
And we have these players are used to it at club level too. Julian Draxler's been almost pushed aside at PSG, and now he's back getting in the team because he's picked up his game. He actually started there really well the back end of last season, but Neymar and Mbappe have come along and they've not managed to push him out the team. There's a response instantly, an upping of performance, and that seems to be a theme across the squad. And last year, Confederations Cup as well.
Well, there you have it, Matt. We're worried. The rivals of Germany are worried. That is all we got time for right now on this subject. But Lewis, thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to the next topic. Well, that's quite enough English pessimism for one live show. We're going to move on. We've got a few comments from you guys talking about the segment we just had. Ignacio Martinez asking, are you guys reading the comments? Yes, we are, Ignacio. Please do write in. And what we want to talk about now is the upcoming World Cup and big international teams. I want you to tell us who you think is overrated, who's underrated, and who's going to win the World Cup next year. We are going to start off talking about the big boys of the World Cup, Brazil. So Matt, is this a Brazil team that harks back to the ages, harks back to the great Brazil teams of the 50s and the 70s and whatnot, because they absolutely dominated the South American qualification table, and they look to have a really good squad in there again with the man that we keep talking about, Neymar, but plenty of other players too. What are your thoughts on the Brazil team right now?
Well, I think going back to those kind of days, their 3 World Cup wins, you know, 58, 62 and 70, that kind of era, the Pelé era, they were so overwhelmingly good with their attacking sense. I think they're, you know, if you look at that, they won 5-2 in the semis that year, 5-2 in the final as well, so they conceded as well. If you're talking about that team, yes, I agree, because they've got all the attacking force in the world. They can really do damage at this World Cup next year. But on the flip side, I haven't seen a change in their defence. And let's not forget, you know, I know they're going to hate me saying it, but 7-1. Right, and to line up,
no, don't bring that up.
To line up next summer, with the same defence. I mean, Edison will probably be in goal, so you know there's a different goalkeeper. With the same defence and the same kind of tactics.
But look at the players in there. I mean, you've got Dani Alves, Thiago Silva, Marcelo, the guy you just told us is the best wing back in the world at the moment,
and David Luiz, and that was the 4.
Well, yeah, but
that played the game against Germany.
All right.
And they're 4 years older.
You've got Alexandra there as well, who's a great, another great wing back who didn't get a mention earlier. I don't know, like you've got Marquinhos and Thiago Silva and Dani Alves who all play together at PSG.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, you've got I think some really good players in that defence as well as the attack. And I don't know, I think in the midfield as well. I mean, you can talk a lot about Neymar up top, but if you look at the likes of Coutinho, Fernandinho, Willian. Casemiro's in there to offer a bit of steel as well.
Yeah, that's true.
This seems to be quite a balanced team by Brazilian standards. You know, if we say Brazil's often a team that just has an attack,
that's true.
It seems a little bit more balanced.
Even the defenders are fantastic attackers. So,
I mean, yeah, there you go. See,
I mean, as you said, I think with Casemiro in the middle and Fernandinho, they are offered a bit of balance. My only worry is that they have too many of the same player. This is the PSG conundrum right now, as you mentioned with Draxler earlier. Draxler, Di Maria, Cavani, Neymar. The same thing. How do Brazil put Coutinho, Neymar, Willian, Hulk, Oscar, whoever's up front? I mean, those are 5 attacking midfielders.
Yeah.
How do you fit them all in one team and not compromise your defensive situation?
That is a good question, and I think there's a few teams that you could say, you know, how are they going to fit them all in? We're going to get to a few of them tonight. We've got Ignacio Martinez again, who is clearly a big Brazil fan, coming up with a lot of players that we haven't mentioned yet. Paulinho, of course. Yeah, of course. Gabriel Jesus, who we talked about earlier, but not in the...
There's another.
Look, I mean, this is, on paper, this is a great Brazil side. In the South American qualifying, they were excellent. The big question is, can they do it on the biggest stage now? Can this squad do it on the biggest stage? Or some of those players at least won the gold medal at the Olympics last year as well,
absolutely.
which, you know, I mean, it gets derided a lot, but it's a gold medal at the Olympics. I mean, it's not nothing. Neymar played in it, so...
I mean, it gets... I mean, it's a big step up for the manager, Tite, I think his name is. He's he won 7 in a row when he came in and fired them to the top of the table. But he's never managed on a big stage before to take him to the World Cup. Look, I mean, the last World Cup, nobody knew anything about Costa Rica, and they showed everybody.
Sure,
so maybe being a little bit more unknown is going to work in his favour.
You can definitely get some surprise packages in there. All right, so run the rule over this for me, Matt. Brazil, overrated, underrated, or correctly rated? Where are they?
I think they're correctly rated. I think everyone knows what to expect.
They deserve to be up there, you think, yeah?
Yeah, definitely, for sure. I mean, some match winners, that's the thing you got to remember.
All right.
Like, you have a pool game, match winner.
All right, I agree with you. I think they're about right, correctly rated. We've got Matthew Burns again writing in, pointing out the next thing we want to talk about. Belgium need to take advantage of this golden generation and win something.
Yeah.
I'm absolutely with you there, Matthew Burns. You are absolutely spot on. Because, I mean, let's think about some of the players that Belgium have got. You talked about trying to fit players in. I mean, who have they got? They've got Lukaku up front, Dries Mertens, Eden Hazard. They've got De Bruyne in midfield. They've got Nainggolan in midfield. God, who else? I'm running out of brain capacity here. Fellaini, of course.
Fellaini in there. They've got also up front. You've got likes of Benteke, Divock Origi, who's also out on loan at Wolfsburg.
Courtois in goal, a great goalkeeper as well.
I mean, they really are. I think I completely agree with the generational aspect of each nation. I think this really is a golden generation. From their knockout in the knockout rounds 2002 in Korea up until the 2014 World Cup, they didn't appear at a tournament. In 12 years, they just. But this is the time. Their defence, late 20s. They're all 25 to 30, the whole team. This is a time for Belgium.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Vertonghen, they've got Alderweireld in defence as well, haven't they? So they've
Kompany, Vermaelen.
Exactly.
But in 4 years, they'll be mid-30s, and it's
but they've got some real quality all over the pitch, and I really feel like they do need to actually make it count pretty soon.
But I think you mentioned earlier,
some of those players are going to be gone.
Hazard, Lukaku, De Bruyne. You've got 3 potential Ballon d'Or winners there.
Yeah.
So they've got to produce something.
Yeah, well, they have to do it soon. Otherwise, as you say, some of those players are going to start retiring. Some of those players are not going to be able to carry on. Got Charlie Collins writing in saying Belgium are lacking in fullbacks. Exactly what we were just talking about.
Yeah, no, they are.
Is that, funnily enough, going to be what stops them in their tracks at the World Cup?
Well, if the Belgian teams are watching the show, they need to be aware of the use of the wing back. But I think you've seen in recent times the likes of Vermaelen has definitely been pushed out to the left back position. Same with Toby Alderweireld on the other side. For guys like Kompany and Vertonghen in the middle, they had Nicolas Lombard as well, who I think may have retired now, but certainly the last few years, an abundance of centre-backs, Dirk Boyata as well, Jason Denayer, all of them centre-backs who are just being played in that wider position. And it limits them. It greatly limits them to having, just defenders.
Yep. So we've got to run the rule over Belgium as well. Overrated, underrated, or correctly rated?
Correctly rated, because, they're up there. People know they're good. They're up there.
I think they're a little overrated. I think on paper, they're great. I just think they aren't going to actually make it happen on the big stage. And I think that is going to be, unfortunately, what slightly undermines this golden generation in years to come. But who knows, if they can replace some of those players who are retiring soon, then maybe the next tournament will be the time for them. We want to move on and talk a little bit now about Italy. Italy, of course, their coach is assuming that they're going to be at the World Cup next year. They haven't actually sealed their spot yet, though. They're in the playoffs. Can't blame them. They were in a group with Spain, who, frankly, look utterly brilliant at the moment. But Gianpiero Ventura, the Italy coach, already kind of suggesting, well, this is a walkover. We'll absolutely play Sweden off the park and get there.
Yeah.
Is it quite so set in stone?
No. And to be honest, from a guy who's come in and reportedly lost the dressing room, he's changed tactics from... I think Italy were brilliant last year at the Euros. Knocking out Spain and losing to Germany on penalties, to then go in and mess things up so badly in the space of a year and a bit, to the fact that apparently there was a team meeting that Daniele De Rossi, one of the experienced guys, called to sort it out, and he's now talking like they're already there.
Yeah, it seems amazing. I mean, I hope for this guy's sake, Buffon, that they do something big at this World Cup, because he's such a legend of the game, isn't he? And he really deserves to go out of international football on a high. And this probably will be his last big international tournament. Bonucci there as well, obviously part of this great Italian tradition of having great defenders. I just wonder, when I look at the team that they've got, they've got 5 forwards in their squad for the time being. Zaza, Belotti, Immobile, Ada and Gabbiadini. 5 forwards, and they've only got 20 goals combined at international level. I just wonder, are there enough goals in this Italy side to win a major tournament?
Well, it's a big question. I reckon the problem they had was the likes of Totti and Del Piero coming in so young. All the other strikers just gave up. Just thought, we're not going to get in for another 20 years. So we might as well just give up. And then when those two retired, they were left with no one.
Well, that's
probably highly unlikely, but there you go. It's just another spin on it.
Yeah, we got RK saying Sweden to beat Italy on here. Latino Boy, on the other hand, saying Italy 2, Sweden 1, first leg, second leg 0-0. Wouldn't that be the classic way for Italy to make it to the tournament? Just grind out a nice, comfortable 0-0 at home. NewTube Footy Vids asking, do Italy lack in confidence, quality, consistency, or what? What is it? Because they've got a lot of talent in that squad. We mentioned a few of them. Insigne's in there, De Rossi, Bonucci, Buffon. There's definitely talent there.
I think they're lacking a kind of rejuvenation almost. The 2006 squad was incredible. They won the World Cup, and since then they failed to get out the group stage. In 2010, 2014, and it seems like when teams look at themselves and go, you know what? Let's start afresh. Let's get it back together. Let's get something exciting. Let's change our way. And I don't think they have. And you could see it by the amount of senior players in their team that, for a young coach to come in and say, to Buffon, the last 22 years of your career, you've been doing it wrong. This is how we're going to do it. The same with Bonucci,
that ain't going to work, is
and
it?
Whoever's in their 30s. They need an overhaul. And I think the end of the Totti Buffon era, as much as it's sad, Pirlo as well recently retired, will kind of usher in a new generation for Italy, for sure.
All right, we're running out of time here, so I'm going to have to ask you, Italy, overrated, underrated, or correctly rated?
Correctly rated again.
You keep saying this.
It's hurting sitting on this fence, I tell you.
You know what, I think at the moment they're maybe a little bit overrated, but I think Italy might just do that thing where they suddenly turn it on at a big tournament. And I think they might go into the tournament a little bit underrated.
If they get there.
We'll see. There's one more team that we want to talk about today, and that is France. The team who, for my money, should have won the Euros last summer.
Sure.
No disrespect meant to Portugal, but France, for me, were the best team at that tournament. On paper, guys like these, you see Anthony Martial there, who is definitely one of the best talents, or best young talents in Europe. Payet too. They've got Kylian Mbappe coming through, of course. They've got Dembele, who will be fit again by the World Cup. Is this the favourite? Are these the favourites that we're looking at here? France? Are they going to take it one step further?
I'd put them down as favourites for sure. I mean, I think the one problem with them, and there always seems to be scandal wherever the French national team go. You know, I know Benzema won't be there, and Valbuena, and whoever else.
Sure, yeah.
There's always something, you know, and they do have a lot of egos. You know, the likes of Paul Pogba and Antoine Griezmann, and even Olivier Giroud.
Is Deschamps the man who can bring them all together?
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah.
I really think he's a great coach, and he's kind of, you know, having been there, and of course, you know, him in 1998 winning the World Cup. There's no better way of walking into his dressing room and saying, "Listen to me, because here's my winner's trophy or the medal."
Yep, in the home World Cup as well.
Yeah, in the home World Cup. So these guys know all about him.
Yeah,
for
sure.
But I think they might be one step away from listening up a little bit.
All right, we've seen some of France's big players come up on the screen there. The likes of Mbappe, Pogba, they've got Mondi at the back, they've got Hugo Lloris in goal, I think is excellent.
Yeah, fantastic.
You know, they've got great players all over the park. Is France the best team on paper in the world at the moment?
I'd have them down as favourites alongside Germany for sure.
France and Germany the favourites, yeah? You think that could be a mouth-watering...
If that's the
final?
If that's the final, yeah. I mean, it's assuming England don't pull something out of the hat, but...
All right, I'm going to ask you then, France, overrated, underrated, or correctly rated?
They are correctly rated. Again,
we've got a clean sweep of correctly rated from Matt here.
Everyone knows what they are, what they're about. So I'm not going to say France are underrated.
When they've got all those players, no. I mean, I think on paper they're certainly correctly rated. The big question is, can they get it together at the big top? We saw in 2010, for example, where there was just a meltdown. There was just, you know, everybody kind of arguing with each other, the whole thing falling apart. Anelka, you know, not playing fair, Henry not kind of sorting the situation out. Anyway, we've got a few people commenting on this here. RK saying exactly what I've just been saying. Problem with France is most don't play together, whereas past winners, Spain and Germany, were dominated by Barca and Bayern players. Carson Bartholo saying France are my favourites. What else here we got? Ryan Mira saying France quarterfinals out by Argentina. Interesting one. Argentina, of course, struggled to qualify for the World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely.
Are they going to turn it around? Anyway, guys, that's all we got time for with the live show here. Thank you very much for all your comments. Thanks for checking in with us. How we really appreciate. We appreciate every comment that you can give us. Please do subscribe and like and so on and so forth. And we'll try and get back to as many of the comments as we can. But that's it for now. So until next week, see you then.